Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Joining us this week are three very special guests. I'll start with Anthony Minessale, founder of the FreeSWITCH project and SingWire, together with Michael Jerris, another founder of FreeSWITCH project, and finally Brian West, the other founder of FreeSWITCH. And thank you for joining us. First of all, I'm super happy to have you here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good. So, well, I think the session's topic will be about the next ClueCon. I think it's exciting. It's coming up in just a few short weeks, actually. I need to get my talk ready, by the way. And I think first thing I will ask you is there a sneak peek about what's going to happen at ClueCon? Maybe we can start with Tony. What do you think the topic's going to be?
Well, ClueCon has always kind of been the place where new and emerging ideas and technology starts. Like the first ClueCon, there was no FreeSWITCH, but we kind of knew we wanted to make it. We spent a lot of time talking about it with people. We debuted FreeSWITCH there. When WebRTC was new, we debuted it. Some of our WebRTC integrations. The industry has been evolving constantly. There's an era of physical telephony that came and went, where we had interfaces to hardware devices that are plugged right into T1 lines. We've gone, all these different kind of, there's an era with all radio stuff when people are starting to make their own kind of LTE base stations. But this time, being kind of at the forefront of a bunch of different new and emerging technologies with AI and whatnot, we have a pretty big focus on using voice and AI together. And also something that's been inside of our kind of goals all along was to find a way to move past like the world of like physical servers and one FreeSWITCH at a time. And people would win at FreeSWITCH with their one server and ask, how can I have 2 and how can I have 10? How do I round robin them? There's some people that do it over SIP or whatnot, but there's other people that want to do it for like web applications and more of these modern things, combining like audio and video, and that are coming not only from the phone systems of the past, but also from the future, coming from like web applications or mobile applications and a bunch of things like that. So we're going to be talking about some work we've been doing for nearly, I think we're at like 15 years worth of work that we've been doing, including like the advent of SignalWire, which is the company that helps us get to that next level, making the things that you can really dream about building on top of FreeSWITCH, but it's a lot harder to do, and kind of giving you that next level to work with too, so that you can combine and build things without like excess engineering resources that you have to do specialty solutions to kind of attack those different things. So it goes all the way from things that everyone loves to hear about, what's going on with all the different open source projects. We have a bunch of the leaders of various projects come in and talking about their open source, and also like how you can build and connect that with other higher level applications.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's ClueCon to me. It's always been a learning experience first and foremost, and I'm looking forward to the talks we're gonna get next year. So, Michael, what are your favorite things about ClueCon?
I think my favorite things about ClueCon are just the connections with people from the industry. Many of these people over the last few decades have become good friends, and just getting all of those minds together and seeing what we come up with is something that I look forward to every year.
Nice. Do you usually get a lot of questions about FreeSWITCH while ClueCon?
Sure. Yeah. Everyone's asking questions about FreeSWITCH.
Good. Yeah. Well, I think I know because they come ask me, and I usually send them your way because I don't know all of it. It is a very, very important topic. So, Brian, I know you have a talk this year. What's your talk about? Can you give us a sneak peek?
It's gonna be about AI. It's gonna be about guidance and usage. Places where you can apply it and places where you probably shouldn't at this point in time. proper ways to approach problems, how to break problems down into bite-sized elements to have AI take care of them for you. Because that's important to understand the technology, how it works, and when to apply it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good topic actually, mostly because people have been trying to put AI into everything, but it's not quite ready to be put into everything. There are a lot of great usage chances, and a lot of places where it really makes sense and matters, but it's not always the like I've seen everything. I've seen AI soft drinks, whatever that means.
Yeah,
like something that was supposed to design AI or AI golf clubs, which I still struggle to figure out how they work.
right. So the goal is to show off our complete turnkey stack that we have and how to implement aspects using it, so that people can build the services on top of it that allow them to take care of their customers, increase their customer satisfaction, collect information. All of those things matter.
So, Tony, what do you think are the most important signal wire announcements? Are there coming at ClueCon? Like we always have something new. What's coming down the pipeline?
Well, since the goal of SignalWire is basically to enable everyone to take some of the more complex things that you might find in an expensive high-end, say UCAS or CCAS implementation, and be able to use it as building blocks in something you're trying to build, kind of deconstructing some of those more expensive things and putting them into a perspective that you can use those same features. We've been working really hard on a way to make that easier. So we have a concept that we've been working on for years called Call Fabric. It's been, I think the schematics for it were presented at an earlier ClueCon when it was just kind of a rough idea. We have implementations of that coming out now where the model is actually really close to the way the rest of the internet works. So for familiarity's sake, it's a matter of resources, we call them, just like resources on a website. And you want to be able to call those things. So you place them on the server with an address, and then you can call them. So you might call them with a phone number, you might call them with SIP, you might call them with the web browser, you might call them with the mobile app. So these protocols are all normalized, and then these resources are kind of like nicer high-level objects would be a way to put it, like a video conference room that has 100 different parameters that you can control, whether or not it's video, if it's audio only, or if it's video with different features and layouts, and like some of the things that you want to do in order to build, say, like a work office app, or you want to make some kind of video first meeting app, or some kind of call center that's video based. You could use the video room. So just provision one with the REST API, and it has an address. You can start routing calls to it. You want to do something with more traditional applications where you're building like a bot or whatnot. You can use markup language that we've created that's deeply integrated into the platform that gives you kind of the next generation version of what you might have learned if you ever used FreeSWITCH before. Like you can use REST APIs to manipulate calls while they're active and turn recording on and off, or route them, or tell them to transfer over to a different remote host. Say you wanted to build anything with our new AI agent stack, which is completely deconstructed toolkit for all the different pieces you need to build an AI bot all in one place, which are also natively integrated as a resource into Call Fabric. So you want to have an AI answer your phone and be the line of defense whether or not you get to talk to someone or not. You can do that. You can set up like a script that tells you to make a voice captcha first or something to pass a arithmetic test. You could do like your intro audio and video thing. You could use the phone numbers to tell where to route the call, like all kinds of stuff that you would normally have to spend a lot of time prototyping, instantaneously provisionable. So you use APIs to provision resources, and you also use APIs to access them if you choose. So lots of interesting things that simplify paradigm. That's a lot of people are just kind of looking out in the rain, looking in, wishing they could do some of these things because the big companies charge too much for it. So taking those features and letting people build their own stuff.
I've been using the new APIs for a while, and I think they're spectacular. And I think we have Michael to thank for it because I know he's the product lead on that. Do you think you ever met someone at ClueCon that inspired some of the features? Like, does ClueCon help you shape the products and development and what you need, or maybe the talks, or maybe the people you meet? Is it something that has helped? Just curious.
Me? Who's the question to?
For you.
Oh, for me. Absolutely. In fact, our best ideas come from understanding the problems that people have out there. And ClueCon is the place where we get kind of the most detailed versions of those. So many a problem has been defined by what people sitting around at lunch, at dinner, at ClueCon, and describing what they're trying to accomplish, and us trying to come up with a good way to do it. Sometimes
I would say almost too detailed at time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how most of FreeSWITCH was created.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. Does ClueCon predate FreeSWITCH? No, it doesn't.
Just by 1 year.
Yes.
Oh, just by 1 year. So first year ClueCon there was no FreeSWITCH.
No, there was a zip file with the engine. Like I think it didn't have a name yet, and it was really small, and all it said was engine started. Now what? And then you could type quit. So that's about how much we had when we got.
Oh yeah.
So it was just like
the
idea of a framework of a cross-platform server process that had no feature besides quitting.
Well, I mean that's part. Well, speaking of that, Brian, a question for you since you've been there since day one. How are you seeing ClueCon change over the years? Like, how was it at the start, and how is it now?
It's what we started in the original one is still there. All of that is still there. Bringing people together, getting people to talk about their issues, the problems in communication, all of those things are still there. I just think it's gotten better. It's gotten way more organized. Things are better planned out. The interactions, everything about it just makes it easier for you to come to the conference, get engaged, interact with people, and have a little fun while doing so.
How many people did you have at the first ClueCon?
I think we had 65.
Well, that's a number. I mean, that's still quite a good showing. It's remarkable. Oh, it was in Chicago? Was ClueCon ever not held in Chicago?
It's always been in Chicago. It was at a hotel that doesn't exist anymore out by the airport. You could go on the Wayback Machine and see it all. It's all still there. It's pretty interesting.
Is the hotel gone?
Yeah, the hotel's gone. It's no longer there.
Well, it comes with the history, right? You have a piece of...
Depends on how geographically accurate you want to be. So it was technically outside Chicago. This was an airport hotel. And that was the only time because everybody wanted to go do stuff in Chicago and they had to take a train. And there's like weird, sketchy people at night and stuff. And we're like, why are we by the airport when we could just be downtown? And then
we learned our lesson quick.
Every one of the other 18 of them, one of them was online.
Yes.
So that one wasn't in Chicago, except for some of the people might have been calling from Chicago. I don't know. But so yeah, that was the exception. The first one was by an airport outside Chicago, the city itself, and the other one was online. But there were other 18 will be in Chicago downtown. Some within 10 feet of Magnificent Mile.
Yeah, I've been to about 7 or 8 now, no more, probably 10ish, because I spoke at the ClueCons before I joined SignalWire, so I think it's been a while, and it's always been my favorite conference. And I'm not saying this because you're here, like it is, and I know it's the same thing for a lot of people in the industry. In fact, does anybody recall one of maybe some favorite talks or something that happened over the years that was groundbreaking or very interesting? I do remember a couple dangerous demos that were very, very cool, aside from the funny ones. What were your favorite talks over the year, if there's anything you recall?
I think some of the stuff about the ones that really got me in the beginning were when we had like people from like Zayo Labs, and they were in there talking about speech recognition and TTS, and all of those things were stuff that we built in and plumbed for it in FreeSWITCH. So it's always been an interest of mine. LumenVox and some of these other companies were all like Kepstrel. All of that was very early on, trying to create that perfect IVR that could actually do something interesting. And now we've kind of gone past that with AI, but those have always been something I've paid close attention to.
Yeah, at the time I remember those were really magical. I mean, we now have the same feeling about AI talks and presentations, but at the time, just having speech recognition that actually worked, was something. Like
Yes.
Prototypes. It was just
we had some
incredible.
classic moments in the early years with like very young FreeSWITCH doing 10x the traffic of anything else you could throw at it, like, and then having live demos of like the scrolling by screen of like sending like I don't know, what was it, like the first time we saturated 100 megabits.
I remember that, and I remember first time we saturated gigabit. It was both times they happened far enough apart that we forgot for a moment, and then it dawned on us.
Yeah, we're like, what did we break? Oh wait, we've used up all of the network.
Oh wow, yeah. With
one
those
are pretty big milestones because nothing could do that before. So it's not
with one FreeSWITCH one. Yeah, we were just trying to like scratching our heads. Why can't we get any more calls on this thing? There's plenty of. We're not out of RAM. We're not. Went through the whole list, and eventually it was like, oh.
When the switch caught fire, you noticed something was wrong. Pretty much.
Yeah, there's a time they put the LTE, like I was saying earlier, like 2 different people brought LTE base stations. They were just in the size of a little computer and launched it, and like had their own cell phone signal.
I remember that because we went around posing with them all over downtown, and that in itself was a little questionable because everybody was looking at us weird because it's this little silver box. So it's like, what are these people doing? It's kind of comical.
I'm not even sure that's fully legal, but it doesn't matter. It was fun.
I think the first ever MVNO thing was at ClueCon too. One year, there's someone on the inside track with T-Mobile gave us like a SIM that turned to SIP, and it was like unheard of still. So it had like little what's that kind of phone we used to have with all the buttons on it? The Nokias.
Yeah, the Nokias.
Yeah, little Nokias that you could chat with people on it and stuff. It had a keyboard. It was like before smartphones were super smart, and it had a SIM in it, and anything you dialed would like come to the FreeSWITCH box.
I remember doing that with Sprint too. They had given me a horrible phone, a pink phone that had the keys on the bottom, like it was a rectangle with a small screen on top and the keys on the bottom, and it was pink, and it was sort of unmetered, so I could call anything because everything would just go to the to FreeSWITCH. It's really interesting. I mean, that's commonplace nowadays. There's a lot of carriers doing that, including with SignalWire, where they just turn calls into SIP and they have them.
Yeah, and back when whatever year that was, like 2009 or something, it was a brand new idea, and no one could fathom it. So it was I remember that demo coming out.
Yeah, I remember
Michael.
I remember Michael sabotaging one of my demos once, but that was.
What did I do?
You sort of made everybody car go the wrong way. But it was fun. So and dangerous demos are supposed to be dangerous, otherwise they're not truly dangerous, right? Have we ever had something actually catch fire in a crash and burn?
I think we did. Because
For real?
Well, I wouldn't say like the whole building was at risk, but I think they put like someone was trying to do an IoT thing, and they like had a battery they were like overloading. They were like,
oh wow,
crossing the polarity on it to try and get more wattage or something, or like had it close to liquid or something, and like overheated it.
I remember that.
Oh, so yeah,
Yeah,
it was
there's
a
ways to hurt
digital
batteries
converter.
if you try too hard, because you can try and like up the voltage by like, and then they don't like that and they get hot. I don't know if there's actual flames present or not, but it's pretty close. Some guy dumped a whole pitcher of water over his laptop once too.
Yep, I remember that too. That was a fun one.
That's why we don't have water on the table anymore.
Yep.
Oh, that was an accident.
Yeah, it was a total accident. We had pitchers of waters on the table, and somebody bumped it, and it flipped over on his laptop. And out it went. It also trickled down into the outlet in the floor and blew that breaker. It was a whole chain reaction of events.
I think
Oh, yeah, water.
a thunderstorm took out the switch in the middle of the conference once.
Yeah, I remember
our people fixed it for the hotel because they didn't know what they were doing, and there's no more internet in the whole building. And I was like, "Is there a doctor in the house?" I was like, "Do we have an engineer? Does anyone have a IP switch with them?" And they're like, 3 people are like, "I do."
Right here. I remember that was the second con. It was the Omni, and we went in and I remember the cables were strung across, and our switch was hanging in the middle between 2 cables. Keep it all.
It was really lucky for the hotel to have the conference there at the right moment. It's, had it been a doctor conference, that wouldn't have worked. But they need to time it so their equipment breaks when we're actually there. It's probably the best.
I don't think that's the first time that we had to go in the back room of the hotel and do our own thing because they didn't know what we were talking about. A couple different times, like I think Brian has been escorted to their private area in their network room to fix something for ourselves.
Yes, that has happened.
Well, I mean, that's par for the course, right? When you're running a large event, and it's usually it can happen. I feel like
that's when we started having this running joke, like, "Don't worry, we're from the internet."
Yeah,
that's what I say when people ask, "Where's Signal Wire?" I said, "From the internet."
Yeah, we are indeed. Well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this year's conference. I just got my travel sorted out, and I'll be up in Milwaukee before driving down. And I think it's a great event. I'm the one all of you have been always organizers. I've attended as a spectator, I've attended as a speaker, and I've attended as a sort of part of the org. And I think it's always been a great experience. So looking forward to this. Aside from Chicago
Pizza.
on
the speaker list, Luca, what's your talk about? Let me be the host for a minute.
Oh, wow. How the tables turn. My talk is going to be about integrating a consistent knowledge bases with AI, especially AI agents geared towards AI IVRs. And we're going to go over various techniques, how you want to divide your data up, how you want to index your data, find it, and give it to the AI in the best possible way, since we did a lot of work internally for that product. It's going to be called DataSphere, or something. It's internal working name. I don't know if it's going to be called DataSphere when it gets out there. But we're adding document storage or AI so that you can make your agents instantly know about your knowledge bases and whatnot. There's a lot of little tricks there, like how much text you give it, how you divide it, and how you find it that are be compared, and have a lot of numbers and quantitative analysis on that. So it's going to be fun. Thank you for the question.
Mm-hmm. I just went back and looked at our Git history, and it looks like you're asking about the original code. I know there was a tarball from long before, but November the 12th, 2005, Tony committed with a commit note of high. was the first commit we have in our repo.
So when did first ClueCon happen?
It was the August prior to that, if I remember.
August prior. So yeah, it's almost a year. No,
that November, if I remember correctly, the January 2006, we came back out and publicly gave people access to it.
Yeah, and the 2005 is when it was just a nothing burger still. It wasn't even worth talking about because it was brand new. I was thinking maybe I'd make a good NFT. I think I still have that. The same little tarball. I tried to show it to a bunch of people to get advice on it and stuff, and no one would bother. I was like, I'm not going to download the file and read this. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, I think I spent I don't know. That was like in the spring, and we had the first ClueCon in the summer, and then so say like in March of 2005, it was just a thing that said all you can do is quit. In August of 2005, it was still pretty much that, but there's a lot of discussions about what everyone thought they should do and how it should work. And then I think there was several months of just talking about it, and then by January 1st, 2006, it worked.
Yeah.
So, and it ran on Windows even.
Ran on
So that
Windows
was-
from November, December. I remember we had Windows working.
Yeah, then came years of hardening, but it started and actually took calls, and like I think it used to even speak EEX back then, IAX protocol. That was one of the first.
It was
in Woomera, which is a 2007 thing.
EEX
like
was there until far later. I mean, I started using FreeSWITCH in, I would say, mid 2008. Because in 2009 we founded our company, which is a consulting.
No, EEX was the first one we had working.
Yeah.
Before SIP?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, long before SIP.
We had
EEX
5
was
SIP
strong at
stacks
the time.
until we picked the one we stuck with.
Well, we had that mod exo still in Woomera at the beginning. When did we add EEX? I got to go through history and find it.
I think we had it. It was one of the easiest ones to do, but there was just the client was so lightweight. It was meant for like a single channel, one phone, so it was hard to scale up to have like a whole server. And the implementation in Asterisk at the time was one big file, so it wasn't something you could just integrate to. So we just we used the client library that was capable of going both ways. I think it just is a matter of like too unstable because it wasn't meant to be used that way, and the demand kind of went down because it took off. It's probably still in there somewhere. But yeah, we went through I think 5 different SIP stacks. Even though it's modular, it could have all 5 at once if you really want to, but we wanted one that we polished the most, and we tried to pick ones that I think we used at least 4 RTP stacks that were pre-made, but none of them fit the bill, so we ended up having to make one.
Yep.
So yeah, those years from the day it launched until it was stable enough to hold up production traffic was a fun adventure. It lasted a little while. I think 2008 took 2 years to get it.
Was it Ken or Chris that did the first production deployment? I think they did them close to each other.
Yeah,
There's a few different friends of ours. There's one guy who put it on a Siemens switch or something. I think bandwidth.com in the early days used to run it on their ancillary traffic to help us find the race conditions in it and stuff, to pump like endless calls through it. Yeah, and Ken always found the limits.
I remember other features like the FreeSWITCH had the asterisk dial plan execution module for a long while. It's probably still there. I mean, I
think it is still there.
No one has removed that. I had to use that
crossover, but it's close as you can get.
I ported it over a lot of PBXs. So for the standard flows like press 1, press 2, whatever, it always worked. Probably didn't support the more complicated things, but then once you had it, you could move it to FreeSWITCH. Well, I mean, thank you very much.
December 6th, 2005, pre-release is when we added the EEX channel module.
So that's when it actually started working.
Yeah, prior to when we put it out the first time.
Then somewhere in 2008, I think we melted a Cisco AS5300 switch by being able to do like 5 times more traffic than it could until it crashed. And that was another big milestone.
Yeah, maybe this year we'll crash something else. It's always fun. We'll see what we can make explode.
Do you see Ken Rice? That's his job. He's destroyed many switch. I think he's gotten banned from using some countries' telco networks by sending too many calls in it.
Well, I mean, thank you very much for all of you joining today. I know you're very busy and it was hard to get all in the same room, but thank you very much. So Anthony Minessale, CEO of Signal Wire and founder of FreeSWITCH. Michael Jerris, founder of FreeSWITCH, and Brian West, founder of FreeSWITCH, and various both Michael and Brian have various titles at Signal Wire, which are hard to remember, but they're very important to us and to the community. And looking forward to meeting all of you and all of the audience at ClueCon, and which is in August this year, from August 12th to 15th. And go get your tickets. I think there's still a discount going on, and you can still get there's instructions on the website to get the hotel rates and whatnot. I think they're still open for a while. So again, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a long time since we all chatted together. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person at ClueCon.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
And for the rest of the people, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.